October 24th, 1978. Cathay Millican, age 27. Location, New London, New Hampshire. July 25th, 1981. Mary Critchley, age 37. Location, Unity, New Hampshire. May 30th, 1984. Bernice Courtemanche, age 17. Location, Newport, New Hampshire. July 20th, 1984. Ruth Fried, age 26. Location, near Claremont, New Hampshire. July 10th, 1985. Eva Morse, age 27. Location, Unity, New Hampshire. April 15th, 1986. Lynda Moore, age 36. Location, Saxtons River, Vermont. January 10th, 1987. Barbara Agnew, age 38. Location, Hartland, Vermont. During the span of nearly 10 years, a killer targeted these 7 women. The location of their remains leads people to believe that due to the area encompassing a common area, police believe that they were dealing with a serial killer known as the Connecticut Valley serial killer. As of recording this installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary, no one has been apprehended and tried in connection to these cases. Officially, the serial killer remains wanted in connection to the 7 murders that happened between the years of 1978 to 1987. Is the serial killer still stalking the location of the Connecticut River Valley? Did the serial killer move to a different location once the heat started to get too hot? Did the serial killer actually get arrested for different crimes, or is he dead? One thing is known for sure. The survivors of these victims deserves to know the truth. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Welcome to another installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. In this installment, we will be watching the case of the Connecticut River Valley serial killer. When it comes to this case, it's actually a case I fondly remember, but for 2 reasons. Number one, it's a serial killer case, and I actually like serial killer cases. However, the main reason I actually remember this case so much, now it may just be me, ladies and gentlemen, but when I watched this case, especially when I was younger, the actor who they selected to play the serial killer, he actually reminds me of a really young John Lithgow. I mean, it may just be me, but I look at the actor and I think, isn't that the guy who played in Harry and the Hendersons? And isn't that the same guy who is, or used to be, or who was, isn't that the guy who played on Third Rock from the Sun? But again, it may just be me, ladies and gentlemen. It may just be me. But, as always, here is the pre-show promo. This is the promo that's basically played during the introduction of Unsolved Mysteries.
In 1988, at a lonely roadside service center, a young woman courageously fought off a brutal unknown assailant. The surprise attack carried all the earmarks of a serial killing. Now authorities have constructed a chilling psychological portrait of a man who may be responsible for the murders of 7 women.
Okay, so that was basically gives you a little bit of idea what we're going to be watching today. And who knows, maybe one of these days this case will get solved. But anyway, let's get to the video, shall we? Okay, guys, I got the headphones on. Got the video loaded up. Are you guys ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, now, if you're new to this series, I will be doing a lot of pausing and stuff to give you my thoughts. It's also kind of necessary for it to become a transformative work and whatnot. With that said, I think that they mislabeled this case. As you can see here, they have it labeled as the investigators. And I understand why they went with that title. However, it makes it sound like more that this case is ultimately about the people investigating the serial killer. And honestly, I think that even though the investigators have an important part, I think that this case or this video should kind of revolve around the serial killer himself. That way we can get as much attention on the serial killer. So I feel that this should have been titled as like Wanted instead of the investigators. It should have been titled Wanted. And I think I even said that regarding the previous investigators case I covered, which was the I-70 killer.
Claremont, New Hampshire, May 1984. 17-year-old Bernice Courtemanche sets off for her boyfriend's house. She is never heard from again.
What kind of boyfriend cannot even pick up his girlfriend? Really, like literally, if your girlfriend is having to hitchhike to you, maybe you should be getting some transportation, like really. Like if you're going to get married, then shouldn't you have a car? Like, what are we doing here, ladies and gentlemen?
This particular killer, I feel, does a lot of driving. And I think that what he is doing is selecting sites that are low risk for him.
Can you hang on just a minute? There's this guy that keeps driving back and forth. He's making me a little nervous. Let me just...
2 months later, 27-year-old Ellen Fried, a registered nurse, also of Claremont, calls her sister from a payphone. She, too, is never heard from again.
Rather than stalking a particular victim, I don't believe any of these women themselves were pre-selected as victims. He selects sites, and he goes from site to site.
18 months later, the skeletal...
I kind of agree and disagree. If I remember correctly, I think this is a serial killer whose victims are predominantly brunette, a little bit more on the the skinny side. I think that while I do give this the profiler, while I do admit that he's most likely right that he goes from site to site, I think it isn't as often. If you look at the dates of these murders, I literally think that even though the murders are basically kept to a specific area, the Connecticut River Valley area, I think that he doesn't spend all of his time there. I think he passes through there. Maybe it could have been like either on the way home. Let's say he was like a traveling salesman or even a trucker, for example. He may be passing through the Connecticut River Valley area on his way home, on his way to a job. But I think, I think that's because of the times that they were killed. There was no like specific long, period. It's like a couple years here, 1 year here, maybe a couple years. Yeah, it isn't regular. But I think ultimately, while he does go from site to site, I think he does have a preference about what he likes. I think he likes, slightly younger, if he prefers, if he can, slightly younger brunette type ladies.
The remains of Ellen Fried were found in an isolated area 8 miles outside of Claremont. Bernice Courtemanche's decomposed body would turn up in the same woods 1 mile away.
Now, if I remember correctly, from all those that were killed due to this person, I think these are the only 2 that were actually killed and deposited in roughly the same area, which makes me think that this may be an area that he's comfortable with. Who knows? He may go hunting in this area. And because he goes hunting in this area, he is more at home. maybe he knows the terrain better. Maybe he knows like how many people are often out here. Maybe there's not that many people out here, and that's why he dumped these 2 bodies here.
Then, just over a year later, the body of yet another young woman, Barbara Agnew, was found on an isolated hillside in Hartland, Vermont. It was becoming more and more difficult to ignore what seemed to be a chilling pattern. Police estimate there may be as many as 100 serial killers living among us, on our streets and in our neighborhoods. They are cool and calculating, choosing victims indiscriminately with little or no remorse for their actions. The overwhelming task for authorities is to determine how the serial killer thinks and hopefully learn where and when he might strike again.
Now, as much as I like shows like Unsolved Mysteries, and I can appreciate, shows like, say, America's Most Wanted, I'm wondering if these shows, or even like, say, shows like CSI, I honestly wonder if these shows have an adverse effect. What if there's a serial killer who's watching, like, say, America's Most Wanted, and they start talking about him? That could cause the person to change their MO, basically, or move to a whole different area if possible. So on one hand, I can like these shows because they help shine a light. They shine a light about what's going on, but it also could rattle the nest to the point that the serial killer basically starts moving elsewhere, which just makes it even worse now, because the person, you may think that he's done, he may be dead or something up in Connecticut somewhere. But come to find out, they could be, like, say, in Nevada, doing the same thing. Yeah.
One such investigation is currently underway in New England. Since 1978, the bodies of 7 young women have been discovered within a 50-mile radius along the New Hampshire-Vermont border. Police believe that 6 of the 7 women were abducted and taken to remote wooded areas where they were murdered. All of the victims suffered similar stab wounds, and police began to suspect that the killings were the work of the same.
Did you notice what I was talking about? How a lot of them, I think they were all brunettes. Here, let's go back through this one more time, shall we? Let's just go back. I'm hoping I don't overshoot it, so I gotta go a little bit careful. Okay, let's go here.
Currently underway in New England.
Brunette.
Since 1978, the bodies of 7
Brunette or dark hair, let's just say that, because some of them look like their hair could be black. But what is the predominant color for hair? It's dark.
7 young women have been discovered within a 50-mile radius along the New Hampshire-Vermont
Dark.
border. Police believe that 6 of the 7 women were abducted and taken
Dark.
to remote wooded areas where they were murdered. All of the victims suffered
Dark.
similar stab wounds, and police began to suspect that the killings were the
And dark. Also, not only do these ladies have dark hair, if you notice that they were all Caucasian, it looks like. None of them were African American or Mexican or Asian or anything like that. So it leads me to wonder if this person has some sort of preference for that type, light skin, brunette, or dark colored hair.
work of the same individual.
I wondered if you'd take a look through these reports and give us your opinion on whether or not you feel one
With
person
no
could be
witnesses
responsible.
and little physical evidence, investigators were at a standstill.
Together we're
As a last resort, the New Hampshire State Police brought in criminal psychologist John Philpin to develop a profile of the killer.
Look 'em over, give us your opinion on what you think.
While I appreciate, these type of people, criminal profilers, I think honestly, sometimes the public are also an invaluable tool that can be used to help solve these crimes. Professionals, sometimes they get stuck in a one-way track of thinking when it comes to trying to apprehend criminals. I think, to bring in case to the public, maybe asking for the public's help, to, like question wise, it can open up a whole new venue, because sometimes, the civilians they will look at cases differently than the police do. And that then they can ask different types of questions that the police may not think about,
My approach is to gather as much of the same information that the police use in the very beginning. Police reports of crime scene, autopsy reports, autopsy photographs, every bit of information that would be available typically to the investigators. That's what I would begin with.
Profiling is something that you just, as from law enforcement standpoint, you have a belief in. It works. It's not so scientific that it is absolute. It's not going to tell you this is the individual, but it does give you the type of individual that you can be looking for. If you have a suspect, it can tell you whether or not you're on the right avenue or the right approach.
For me, like, one question I would ask, if they're like, hey, Jeff, do you have any questions? Like, say if I was sitting in an audience or whatever, like, and they were presenting this case, anybody have questions? The first question I would, I would ask, besides the stab wounds, are there any cases where the victims had bruising on their body that would be indicative of, let's say, anger, or anything that could indicate possibly, like, if the person had a bad relationship with his parents, let's say his mother, for example, were any of the victims blindfolded? Maybe if a victim was blindfolded, it could be that the killer could have had him blindfolded, for example, because he has deep-seated, parental issues, and maybe if they could actually see him, he may feel that they're going to lecture him like how his mother used to have. I really believe, like I said, I just think that sometimes the public don't give them all of the information, but maybe they should hold some sort of like a Q&A session. Have a small group, let's say 5-10 people, and give them the breakdown of the case. Don't give them all the gory details, but have them say, hey, ask us any questions you have. Maybe by asking us these questions, it could help us to kind of spin our wheels a little bit more and get some traction, basically. Give them new areas that they can look at, basically.
Make several trips out to the locations where Bernice and Ellen were killed. The first few times that I went was simply to have something of a feel for the place. When I was there, what could I hear? What could I smell?
Was there any, one question I'd ask him right there, if when he was done talking, I'd be like, was there sounds of traffic? If there's no sounds of traffic, if there's no roads nearby, then he marched them out there, pretty far. It could be because, like I said, that he hunts in that area. He hunts deer or elk or whatever. I'm wondering if that could be why he took them out there, that he knows for sure that this area is almost dead when it comes to other people. And because of that, he uses it as a way to kill his victims.
What was the place like? What would it have felt like to be there? How could this crime, this very bizarre dance between two people, how could it have been choreographed in this space? How could it have happened? When I get to the point where I'm beginning to develop some feel for what is going on in the mind of a killer, I'll go back to the scenes, using what I have learned and simply going through what might have happened, just as though I were him.
I'll do anything you like.
What am I hearing then? Do I hear the noise of the river going by, or is that blocked out? Am I so focused?
Come on.
I think the fact that he does this, and like the latest, one of the last victims that was recorded here, she went by the name of Jane. It was an alias. he attacked her in the parking lot of, I can't recall if it was like a rest stop or like a Minute Mart that was closed for the evening. However, the fact that he attacked her in the parking lot kind of says to me that he doesn't fear. He doesn't fear being seen anymore. He doesn't fear being seen. Maybe he doesn't even have the fear of law enforcement apprehending him, which is really scary because once a criminal starts to basically no longer fear the consequences of their actions or getting caught, that basically unlocks them to really do some nasty stuff.
On the activity of killing, that I don't hear that. What does it tell me about this person's ability to perceive in terms of sound, in terms of what I'm feeling, in terms of what I'm able to see? Part of what goes on with this killer is that he has a very strong need to take these women away alive, transport them.
And why would he do that? I'm not saying that this guy's wrong. He's most likely is right. The question is, why would the killer take them alive? And this is, like I said, I'm wondering if he had issues growing up. And this is the only way he can feel like he has any control in his life. Because ultimately, what are the victims going to do before they die? They're going to beg him. They're going to plead with him. They're going to try to reason with him. They'll try to even most likely they'll try to bargain with him. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. If you don't hurt me, I got money. I'll give you money. You want money? I'll give you money. Or they'll try to reason with him. Like, let's say Jane. She was pregnant when she was attacked. She's going to tell him, careful, I'm pregnant. They're going to try everything possible to stay alive. And I don't blame them. But to him, to kill her, this is like the one thing he never had growing up. He has control. He actually has the fate of these ladies in his hands. And that's what he loves. He loves having this control, that he can literally control these ladies.
To the site that he has pre-selected, during which time clearly he owns them. They are his to do with whatever he wishes. And part of that, I think, is this process of scaring the daylights out of them.
Midnight, August 8th, 1988, Winchester, New Hampshire. A 23-year-old woman named Jane was on her way home from a county fair when she stopped for a soft drink. It was a hot, muggy evening.
Okay, this is the one. Okay, I'm going to turn off the filter really quick so you can get a full view. There you go. Now, this is the lady I was talking about, Jane. She's currently, she was pregnant during, the attack. But that's not what I want to talk about right here. I want to talk about how freaking lazy are the producers of Unsolved Mysteries. As you can see here, she's at a pop machine. Now, to those who may not realize it, that is a Pepsi soda machine. Instead of actually just paying Pepsi however much they wanted for it to use their product for like 5 minutes, they most likely went to their attorneys and they're like, what can we do to this pop machine that we could transform it enough? We could transform it enough where it will not kick over like a trademark infringement or copyright or whatever you want to call it. And basically they talked about it and they're like, we will use construction paper and double-sided tape. And that's what they did here. They literally used bluish colored paper, as you can see, and they basically just over the logo, because you can still see it still says Pepsi right there. It still says Pepsi, but they altered it just enough. To where it's like, okay, we're safe now, which I find to be fucking hypocritical. Goddamn hypocritical. Because people like me and people in the past, we would do commentary videos like this, where we are making it transformative. We are making it transformative. But they don't like anybody using their product for some reason. Even though they're like, hey, we like people. We love the interaction we have with our fans. We love how they want to get these cases solved. But when people like me or people in the past, like I said, they try to do something, oh no, we're going to smack them down. Even though they did enough stuff to make it transformative. Like how I'm doing it right here. Where I have to use filters that you're going to see me turn on right now. There you go. And they're doing commentary and we're breaking it up and all that. They don't want anybody to use their product, but they will do the bare minimum to the point that if I was Pepsi's lawyer and I saw that back in 1991, I think that's when this episode was recorded, I would have sent a cease and desist. You can still see that fucking says Pepsi, but like I said, the producers and the owners of this show were too fucking lazy to just go and you want $5,000 per minute or whatever. Fine, we'll give you $5,000. No, we'll just get construction paper and we'll do a kindergarten art job basically.
And Jane was 7 months pregnant. If there was a serial killer on the loose, this was a perfect setting for him to find a victim.
This music, holy shit. If there's one thing I love about the first few seasons of Unsolved Mysteries, they knew what music to use to really amplify a situation, and this was a good song, or good theme, or whatever you want to call it.
Does that phone work?
I don't know. Hey, come on, leave me alone. No! No, wait! No! Stop!
Okay, I'm stopping here at this moment right here, off with the filter again. Like I said, it may just be me. And if it is just me, you can say it's just me. But doesn't he look like a young John Lithgow? Come on, doesn't he look like a young John Lithgow? Once you see it, you'll never unsee it again. Anyway, with that said, the whole issue with the payphone, because this guy goes from first he uses the payphone. That's his introduction to the victim, to Jane. That's his way of trying to initiate conversation. Pretty soon, he's going to force her out of the car, and then he's going to give some weird fucking excuse that apparently he's going to accuse Jane of doing something to his girlfriend. I think this was to catch Jane off guard, and that somehow he was going to try and convince her to go with him, at which point I'd make you a bet that he would be taking her out to the woods. Okay, on with the filter. There we go.
Okay, if you want to be that way. Come on.
Okay,
Come on.
just don't hurt me. I'm pregnant, okay? Please.
See, this is where I was talking about the bargaining. He was telling her, I'm pregnant, don't hurt me, I'm pregnant. That's what he loves. He loves having that power. He has power. He uses that knife, in my opinion. He uses that knife as a way to kind of really refine that power. The power is, not only does he have power, the power is in the knife, and he can inflict that power if he wants to.
Come on.
What do you want?
You hurt my girlfriend real bad.
I didn't hurt anybody.
It's a Massachusetts car, isn't it?
No, it's New Hampshire. It's New Hampshire.
At some point, Jane tried to break away, and the killer's apparent plans to abduct her went awry.
And this is why I say I do not think he fears law enforcement. Normally, if somebody is afraid of law enforcement, when she ran, the first thing I would think if I was a criminal was like, oh my God, she's running. What if somebody starts coming, like somebody approaches and drives into this parking lot while she's running? They're going to see me, and then they'll have my They'll have my description that can give the police. I got to get out of here. That's what I would do. I don't want to flee because she's already running. More people could be coming in. Yeah. This guy literally chased her down in this parking lot. He slashed and he stabbed her, which makes me think that he doesn't care about consequences. He has done this so much. To use a term, basically, he has become, oh God, what was the term I was thinking about using? It's like where he becomes blind or deaf to the consequences. It's like, God, back in like the 90s, I can't recall what the term was. When it came to video games and people, they said they got basically adapted to the violence. That it no longer bothered them. This is something similar where he just did not care about the consequences of his actions. That he does not fear the police. That's why he was able to just go and hunt her down and stab her.
He had walked all the way to his vehicle, and by this time I was rolled over to my belly and started getting up on my hands and knees. And when he was driving by me, he just looked right down at me.
Now, this is the one thing that kind of made me kind of scratch my head. It's like, this guy, he kills people. It isn't just like this was like a one and done. He had a history. 7 times he killed people. 7 times before Jane, he killed somebody. He knows what he's doing. So I'm asking myself, why would he, allow her to basically get on her hands and knees? And the only thing I could think is he doesn't fear being caught. That's evident with the attack in the parking lot. He's not afraid of being caught. Why would he let her go? And the only thing I could figure is that maybe he thought that the injuries that he inflicted upon her were so bad that maybe after a minute or two, she was going to collapse from loss of blood and she was going to die. That's the only thing I could figure. I think that he thought that he put her into such a state that basically he could leave and she was going to be dead within a couple minutes. However, as you see, ladies and gentlemen, that's not what happened.
He just looked at me and just kept driving. I could feel the blood rushing out of me, and I thought I was gonna die. I kept telling myself, Jane, you're gonna die. That's all I could think of. And I just felt like I had to get to my friend's house to get help.
Although Jane had been stabbed or slashed a total of 18 times, she somehow managed to crawl back to her car and drive to a friend's house 2 miles away.
Now, keep in mind, he was already the killer was already on his way out when she was just getting on her hands and knees. He was driving off. When I watched this case when I was younger, this part like made me think, oh my God, yeah.
When I left the parking lot, I felt like I was going fast. I was driving fast. I was in shock, of course, so I'm really not sure how fast I was driving. But evidently pretty fast, because before I knew it, I was right behind him.
That's right. This lady, she was so panicked, because, the fear of death is creeping into her head. She's thinking that she's going to die, that her baby is going to die. I would go fast too. If somebody stabbed my fat ass, I'd be in my car if I had a car still. I'd be fucking gunning it down that straightaway. I mean, I'd be gunning it like 80, 90 miles an hour to get to someplace safe so I could get help. She went so fast that she got onto the bumper of this guy. What does that say? Now, let's look at it this way, ladies and gentlemen. What does that say? That tells you the guy was so confident in himself that he's going to take a nice leisurely stroll, leisurely drive, basically. He did not. He figured she was already dead. He figured she was already dead. He doesn't care. He's just going to go like on his normal way, like he's going to go to the grocery store. I don't think he was afraid at all for what he did. If he was afraid, if you killed somebody and you were afraid, wouldn't you be gunning it to get the hell out of there? This guy, he's just driving normally, and he was going in at such a speed that his speed was so slow. She was able to close the gap. She closed the gap between herself and him, and she was right behind him. To me, that says ego. To me, that says that he doesn't care, that he's not afraid, that he's going to go at his own pace.
And as I was behind him, all I could think about was he was going to stop or he was going to turn around and follow me. He left me for dead. I know he left me for dead. No doubt about that.
When Jane reached her friend's house, her attacker drove on.
Frank. Frank.
Up the road, the attacker turned back. He stopped momentarily in front of the house.
Right here, I would have figured, let's say she pulled over to an empty parking lot, per se. I would make you a bet that if this was anything other than that house where her friend was, he would have got out of his car, walked over, and finished the job. Now, the reason it being that he did not do anything is I'm pretty sure that he was, worried. This may be the first time he was worried. He was worried that if he tried anything, he doesn't know what that guy has in his house. For all we know, this guy could have had a shotgun, or he could have been armed to the teeth. If Jane told him, that guy just stabbed me, help, 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 he could have run into the house, grabbed whatever gun he had, come out, and start firing. I think that's why he did not do anything. He just basically stayed in his car, looked at the situation, and drove off. This is like the biggest mistake I think he made during his entire crime spree, basically. He left a victim. His ego got a hold of him to the point that it allowed a victim to get away. Not only get away, but get safety at a friend's house. Not only did she see him, but now her friend saw him. So in the span of, let's say, 20 minutes, he fucked up majorly. Two people now have his, his looks, they can say what he looks like. His description. They have his description. And when it comes to the police, they can both give the artist his description. I will make you a bet that if he still operated after this event, I'll make you a bet that he made sure that every victim is dead. I'll make you a bet that not only does he make sure that they're dead, the brutality of the actions that he commits would be worse, just to make sure that each and every victim is dead. Because serial killers, they don't stop. They don't stop. They're incapable of stopping. Even people like, say, the BTK killer, they may have like a period of dormancy, but ultimately the need is there. They can only suppress the need for so long, and then it comes back. And when it comes back, odds are, I'll make you a bet it's even worse, because not only is the need back, but it's like a drug. You gotta have it now. Yeah. So that's just my theory is, I think that this incident here with the friend and everything, it caused him to not only make sure that his future victims are dead, but it even ramped up the violence.
then disappeared into the night.
Vital signs at this time are BP 90 over 60. We have a pulse.
Miraculously, none of the stab wounds hit vital organs or Jane's 7-month-old fetus. 2 months later, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl.
If you feel more comfortable with your eyes closed, if you choose to close your eyes.
Jane agreed to undergo hypnosis with John Philpin and was able to provide a graphic eyewitness account of her terrifying ordeal.
Very peaceful, very calm feeling. From what Jane said during the hypnotic session, it became clear to me that she was not stalked. Her decision to go to the fair was a last-minute decision. She had no sense of anyone following her, either going to the fair while she was at the fair and leaving the fair.
As much as I hate to say it, you hear the saying, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. This is basically that. She was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. She went to a location, and it just happened to be that this serial killer was basically there waiting, to see if somebody would basically walk into the spider web, basically.
She was able to supply very specific details of this man getting out of the car and coming up on the other side, making some remark about the telephone.
That phone working?
Hey, leave me alone! Leave me alone! Get away! Get away!
This man is very deliberate, very methodical, very calm. We know, especially from the graphic description that Jane provided for us, that he doesn't get rattled.
And right there, he just said it. The killer doesn't get rattled. Why doesn't he get rattled? And it's like I said, I personally feel that he literally has done this. There may be more than the 7 victims. The 7 victims are the only victims that we know of. Maybe he has had so much time to basically apply his craft, I guess you could say, that he has evolved to the point that he doesn't fear consequences. He doesn't fear the law. And when you don't fear the consequences or the law, that really makes you a truly dangerous person, because that means the guy can go out and do whatever it is that he wants to do, and he doesn't fear the consequences. He's not like you or me. Like you do something, oh my God, I forget to turn in the library book. I'm a day late. You're going to start to worry and panic about that. This guy, he literally kills people. And it doesn't bother him at all. It doesn't bother him. He's ice cold, basically.
But he's very much in control and very patient about what it is he's doing.
You hurt my girlfriend real bad.
I didn't hurt anybody.
He seemed so calm and so cool about everything throughout the whole thing. I mean, he never got mad. He never showed nervousness. He just was so calm. And everything was just as if it didn't bother him.
What Jane described was a tremendous struggle, a tremendous amount of resistance on her part, the desire to protect her baby, but that at some point during the assault, it was as though she had done everything that she could do, and she couldn't do anymore, and she stopped struggling.
And that's why I think he stopped attacking her. Maybe he gets off on it. Maybe the more that they struggle, the more it feeds into his ego. But the fact that she stopped struggling, maybe he thought that he dealt her enough damage that she was going to die. And that's when he got up and then he drove away under the assumption, which ended up biting him in the ass, basically. He had the assumption, well, she resisted, she stopped resisting. Odds are she's probably bleeding like mad underneath her clothing. She'll be dead. She'll be dead. And that's ultimately what led to everything that we just saw.
And it was at that point that the assault stopped. It seemed as though the greater her resistance, the more determined he was. that as soon as her resistance began to wane, the attack ended. As you begin to drive south on the highway, Jane, what are you seeing?
I'm coming up behind another car, and it's, there he is, that's him. That's him.
The license plate, Jane. Focus in on the license plate.
It's dirty. 662. It's too dirty. I can't see it.
That's a picture that you can hold. You can hold that picture.
After getting the description, one of the things that we decided to do was see if we could identify this Jeep. In order to do that, we elicited the help of the state of Vermont, the state of New Hampshire, obviously, and the state of Massachusetts. We generated a computer printout of all Jeep Wagoneers registered at that time in those 3 states, matching the description that Jane had given us. Jane described it as between being a 75 to an 85.
Police narrowed the search to 1,350 Jeeps throughout New England.
It's like finding a needle in a haystack. I would have been shocked that they were able to find that Jeep that quickly.
Unfortunately, none of the leads pinpointed a suspect. Once again, the investigation was stalled, but with one crucial difference. The police still do not know who the killer is, but thanks to Jane's eyewitness description, they do believe they know what he looks like and how he thinks.
I think he is a loner type of person, prefers his own thoughts, his own fantasies, doesn't like intrusion.
Okay, let's say he's right, and he may be right. Why does he like it being a loner? What in his history caused him to go on such a path? Is it something that happened in his family? Was he treated poorly in his family? Was it due to friendships, like not working out? What caused him to reach that point in his life?
I think his view of women is extremely negative, to the point of hostility, to the point of viewing them as arrogant.
Once again, why would he view them in such a way? Could it be an issue that he had with, let's say, a wife, possibly? If he is married, let's say he is married, does his wife constantly berate him? Does she treat him poorly? Was it his mother? Did his mother make him feel like he was less than desirable as a child? Everything happens for a reason. I don't personally believe that a child is born and they're instantly going to be deemed a serial killer. No, something has to happen from birth to that first kill that led up to that moment. You just don't wake up one day and think, you know what? I'm going to start a killing spree. You don't think like that. Something has to manifest. Something has to happen for you to start thinking like that.
Intrusive types of people, so that I could see him making an adjustment that we might call within the realm of the normal, but it would require, I think, some very limited exposure to groups of people.
I just feel really fortunate to be alive, but I just wish he could be found so it wouldn't happen to somebody else. Maybe they won't be so fortunate like I was to live.
Okay, update. I'm going to do this, and I will read it to you, ladies and gentlemen. Jane believes she knows her attacker's identity. Evidence points to a war veteran who later killed himself and his family. So far, DNA tests have proven inconclusive. I love this theme, by the way. I love this theme. Okay, so that was actually the case of the Connecticut River Valley serial killer. I gave you my thoughts. Ultimately, it's up to you, the viewer, to decide like what ultimately about this case. It's up to you to make that final thought. I went along the route of this guy suffered some sort of, something in his past that literally led him to this. But I don't think that it's something at birth. I don't think that serial killers are instantly just created as a serial killer. But ultimately, it's up to you. What do you think it was? Do you think that he was born a serial killer? Do you think that he could have had the best life ever? Do you think he had or has a wife that treated him like gold? Do you think he had a mother that loved him and adored him? And it's the total opposite of what I said. Ultimately, it's up to you, ladies and gentlemen. But let's go and check the Unsolved Mysteries wiki. Okay, if you are new to this series, this is basically where I go to the Unsolved Mysteries wiki. And I look up the case that we just watched. So let's do this. And I'm going to do that. And then I'll do this. Okay. This case is part of the New Hampshire, Vermont. Started off in the year 1978. And there's a whole bunch of other categories. We have everything from 1981 to 1988. Murder, attempted murder, serial killer. There's a lot of stuff. They had this case tagged as a lot of different things. Connecticut River Valley Killer. I prefer to call him a serial killer because of how many people he's killed. But anyway, his real name is unknown. He has no known aliases. He is wanted for murder and attempted murder. I'm guessing the attempted murder is of Jane. And he's been missing since August 6th, 1988. Okay, so we already know the case details. So what I'm going to do next is scroll down to the extra notes. Okay, so the first in the extra notes, the case first aired on the October 9th, 1991 episode of Unsolved Mysteries. It was also featured on the True Hollywood Story, THS Investigates, and Dark Minds. I don't understand why this would be on a True Hollywood Story, because to me, I hear True Hollywood Story, and I'm thinking of California. This is on the opposite fucking coast. Why is it on True? Okay. Philip Ginsberg released the book The Shadow of Death, The Hunt for a Serial Killer, about this case. In order to protect her identity, Jane was filmed in silhouette, and her full name was not used for the broadcast. I don't even think Jane is actually her first name. I'd make you a bet that this is just an alias, to be honest. Sources vary on several details in this case: the date of Jane's attack, her age at the time, the location of Lynda's home, Ellen's age, and the disappearance age and date of disappearance, and Barbara's age. Okay, now I'm going to read this, and it looks like it's a lengthy read, so may have to take a little bit of some period, breathers to take a drink and whatnot. So let's get on with this, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? Results. Wanted. After the broadcast, an Idaho law enforcement officer called the telecenter. He recognized the composite as matching a man who was being held in an Idaho jail for the murder of a woman. However, it is not known if anything came from this lead. Sadly, since her attack, Jane has been hospitalized for depression, suicide attempts, and other mental problems. Her daughter also suffers from mild cerebral palsy. Now, this is the one thing I kind of disagree with when it comes to Wikipedia's, any kind of wiki. This is all user submitted. If we don't know Jane's exact identity, how is it that we know this stuff? How is that we know that she's been hospitalized for depression, suicide attempts, and that her daughter has cerebral palsy? How do we know that exactly? So it's just sometimes you gotta kind of look at these cases or these entries with a grain of salt, you know. One potential suspect that was later identified in this case is 56-year-old Michael Nuckolau, a Vietnam veteran and former Army helicopter pilot. In 2001, Rose Young asked private investigator Lynn Marie Carty to look into the December 1988 disappearance of her daughter, Michelle Marie Ashley. Michelle and Nicolau had 2 children together. She vanished from Holyoke, Massachusetts. 4 months after Jane's attack, her family believed that he had killed her, although he had planned on leaving him. Oh, she had planned on leaving him, sorry. She also told Rose that if she ever went missing, he was responsible. When it comes to things like this, like if I disappear, this person's responsible. Don't always believe that. There was a case in Lyons, Nebraska. Let's see here. Lyons, Nebraska. Unsolved Mysteries. Greg Webb. Aha, here we go. Let's see here. Sometimes when people say, if I disappear or something happens to me, this person's responsible. Don't always believe that, because here is a good example. Okay, basically this case revolved around Greg Webb killing his neighbor, Anna Anton. They had like a budding relationship, I guess you could say. Well, during the case, Anna Anton told her friend that if anything, let's see here. She had a friend named Shirley, and she began to confide in Shirley. She told Shirley that Tom had been involved in a large drug ring. Tom was Anna's previous husband, and that she had testified against him and other members of it. She said that she was afraid that he or other members were going to harm her. She also said that she had moved to Lyons to get away from him. She was apparently so afraid that she would refuse to open her door until the person identified themselves. One day, Anna gave Shirley an envelope and said, if anything should happen to me, I want you to open this envelope and call the number that is in it. The number belonged to a female friend in Iowa. Anna told Shirley that she had chosen her apartment because Greg lived right above her. Come to find out, her husband was not involved in drugs or anything. He was not involved in drugs. So you really got to be kind of careful when somebody goes up to you and goes, if something happens to me, that person over there is responsible. Because it may not be responsible. And to this day, let's see here. Does it actually say... don't get help, however, no sign of her. And his dogs were found locked in the basement. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Why did I do that? Hold on, let's turn that off. Drugs. Okay. Drug dealers. Report narcotics, a heavy drug dealer. Within a short period of time, Krieger was able to determine that Tom had an alibi and was not involved in any drug activity. So you always got to kind of take these cases, cases with a grain of salt when somebody says, if something happened to me, that person, is either responsible or they know what happened to me. And to this day, it was never revealed why Anna Anton actually lied about that. See, he was responsible shortly after the disappearance. He left the area with their children. Shortly after taking on this case, Cardi located Nicolau in Tampa, Florida. Initially, he said that he did not know Michelle. Okay, well, right there, the fact that he lied. Eventually, he said that she had run off with a drug dealer and abandoned the family. Is this the same drug dealer that Anna Anton was accusing her husband of being? He also said that their children were all right with him. However, he reportedly told others that Michelle was dead. 4 years later, on New Year's Eve 2005, he tracked down his estranged wife, Aileen, who had been hiding from him at her sister's West Tampa home. He shot her and her 20-year-old daughter, Taryn, to death. He then committed suicide. A coward. Fortunately, his and Michelle's children were not harmed. Okay, let's zoom this in a little bit. I didn't realize that I was not zoomed in enough. I'm sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's see here. Where is it? Wow, hold on, okay, they were not harmed. After Cardi learned about the murder-suicide, she determined to reinvestigate Michelle's house. She started researching the murders in the Northeast in the 1980s and soon learned about the Connecticut River Valley murders. She found several coincidences between them and Nicolau. Several victims were nurses. She discovered that his first wife was a nurse and that his mother worked at a hospital. Wait, I'm kind of confused here. Is she talking about the mother of the serial killer? He had spent time in New England since 1978, where Cathay was killed. He was in the general vicinity at the same time as most of the murders. Michelle's family lived in Vermont, in the heart of the Connecticut River Valley. He had driven all over the valley when visiting her relatives. They were fighting around the time of Jane's attack, and he reportedly drove down the same old road where she would be attacked. Looking for Michelle, she would be attacked. Looking for Michelle. His residence at the time was close to Route 91. He had visited the hospital where Barbara worked within a few months of her death. He was visiting relatives nearby when she disappeared. Cardi also examined Nicolau's psychiatric records from a stay at a Miami Veterans Hospital. Now, I'm sorry. I may not be an expert when it comes to like medical records. Well, so it's supposed to be like only available for like doctors or police officers or somebody to actually access. Isn't this person just like a private detective or a friend or something? Like how does this person have access to people's medical records? Let's see here. According to reports, he felt guilt over being involved in killing civilians during combat in Vietnam. It was also said that he could become violent when threatened. Interestingly, he was tried along with 7 other soldiers for strafing civilians. However, the charges were dropped. Medical records also show that he had chronic nightmares and intrusive images about combat experiences. He would reportedly see the faces of people he randomly killed while in a helicopter. Several people who served with him said that he enjoyed killing And that could be another reason why he didn't fear getting caught. Maybe it's just he outright, instead of killing people to the point that he was not afraid, maybe he just enjoyed it. He enjoyed killing when he was in combat. He reportedly would go off with his knife and find other opportunities to kill people. Hardy asked New Hampshire authorities to look into Nicolau. They later noted that he was a person of interest in the murders and planned to compare fingerprints and DNA from the crime scenes to him. In July 2006, she contacted Jane and told her about him. After being showed several photographs of him, she said she was almost certain that he was the attacker. Okay, so this guy is Nicolau is the one that the update basically said that was possibly a former soldier that killed his family. See, it kind of leaves out this other information here. Police indicated that he matched the physical description of her attacker. He also matched the description of the man seen near Lynda's home. Philpin also believed that he was connected to the murders. Despite the circumstantial evidence against Nicolau, DNA testing in the cases has so far been inconclusive. It has been noted that he was living in Virginia at the time of Bernice, Ellen, and Eva's murders. Furthermore, Lynda's son noted that he does not completely match the description of Jane's attacker or the composite. Jane also had previously dismissed him as the attacker when initially shown photographs of him. Okay. Virginia authorities also considered Nicolau a potential suspect in the 1984 rape along the Blue Ridge Parkway. Another man, Edward Honecker, spent 10 years in prison for it before DNA tests proved his innocence. Hardy discovered that Nicolau had once lived in the area and looked similar to Honecker. However, it is not known if DNA was ever compared in that case. Police have looked into suspects in this case. One was Delbert Tallman, who confessed to killing a woman named Heidi Martin in 1984. Her death was similar to the Connecticut River Valley murders. However, he recanted his confession and was acquitted of her murder. He has never been officially connected to the other cases. Another lead in the case came from 46-year-old Gary Westover. In fall 1997, he confessed to his uncle that he was forced to participate in Barbara's murder. He was paraplegic in a wheelchair bound. According to his confession, 3 of his friends picked him up on the day Barbara's murder for a night of partying. They put him in his wheelchair in a van. At some point, they abducted Barbara, stabbed her, and dumped her body off a back road. They then took him back to his home. How exactly did he help stab her? I'm a little bit confused about that. Westover's uncle wrote down the names of the 3 men and contacted authorities. However, according to his family, little was done with the information at the time. In 1998, wow. It's amazing how much time, how much the time span of some of these cases. In 1998, I was just about to start roughly I think I was either in my junior or my senior year of high school, depending on the time of the year, of junior high. Sorry, junior high. He passed away after Nicolau was identified as a potential suspect. One of Westover's relatives sent a letter to Barbara's sister describing his confession. She forwarded to Carty, who suspected that Westover had been used as bait to get Barbara to pull over in the rest stop. Ugh. She believes that Nicolau was one of the men named in Westover's confession. However, this has not been confirmed. Wow, we're now going to 2012. Okay. In 2012, this case was profiled on the show Dark Minds. During it, 2 new suspects were mentioned. One was Rodney Stanger, who was convicted of killing his girlfriend, Crystal Morrison. He is also a suspect in the disappearance and death of Molly Bish. That name sounds familiar. Hold on, Molly Bish. Bish, that name sounds. Is that the girl who was a lifeguard, if I remember correctly? Lifeguard, yeah, lifeguard. This is the one where the guy was smoking in the car near the lake, if I remember correctly. Isn't this the one with the guy who was smoking in a car near the lake? Let's see here. Yeah, he was sitting in, yeah, I was right. He was the guy who was sitting in the car smoking, and he was just kind of looking off into the distance. Oh, okay. Shortly before her death, Crystal called her sister and implied that he was involved in murders, including Molly's. However, when shown a picture of him, Jane did not believe that he was her attacker. The other suspect was not identified on the show. His son had earlier come forward suspecting that his father was involved in the Connecticut River Valley murders. His wife had told her son that when she saw the composite of Jane's attacker, she believed that it was her husband. She later told her son that one night he came home covered in blood, fearing for her life. Oh, okay, fearing for her life. I thought he was going to say fearing for his life, but fearing for her life. She did not ask him what had happened. Instead, she helped him burn his bloody clothing. Stupid move. Stupid fucking move. Okay. The next day, she saw on the news that a woman had been murdered within a mile of a bar that he had frequented. His son said that his father was a violent and dangerous man who had problems with all the women in his life. He had rage problems and would go completely out of control. In one incident, he threw his wife out of a second-story window and held her by her. Wow. She also told her son that her husband was a sexual deviant. The family lived for several years on a Massachusetts farm. The suspect violently butchered pigs and chickens regularly. He also owned a Jeep Wagoneer. His son rode in it with him every day. When shown a photograph of the suspect, Jane became frightened and said the hairs on the back of her neck stood up in fear. She was certain he was her attacker. However, he died in 2008 without ever being investigated. It is not known if police consider him a suspect in the case. Wow. Okay, so we are we're actually over nearly 2 years ago now. On May 21st, 2024, investigators searched the property in Newport, New Hampshire, for evidence related to this case. Some sources state that the man who lives there had been considered a suspect in the case for some time. It is not known what, if anything, was found during the search. To date, the Connecticut River Valley murders remain officially unsolved. Surprisingly, cold case unit officials have stated that they do not believe the cases are connected. However, they said the possibility cannot be investigated fully until one of them is solved. Oh boy, that was a lot right there. That was a lot. I'm just going to take a quick breather, stretch my legs, use the restroom, and I'll be right back. Okay. So let's look at the links, shall we? Normally, I don't really go to that many of the links, but they're all here. I will post the link to this Unsolved Mysteries wiki in the description so you guys can always check it out for yourself. Okay, so we have a virtual cemetery for the victims on Find a Grave. Let's see here. How many do we have here? Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we have all 7 here. I'm gonna just, since there's so many here, I'm just gonna kind of give like the real basic information, and that's about it. Yeah. So let's start off with Barbara Agnew. Thank you. See here. She was born. Barbara was born October 14th, 1948 in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. She was killed on March 28th, 1987. She was only 38 years old. Location was Hartland, Vermont, USA. She is buried at the Hanover Center Cemetery. Let's see. Let's look at some of the pictures. Okay, this looks like it could have been a news article clipping. That one's kind of small. I can't really see that much about that. And then we have a news article. Next up, we have Bernice Courtemanche. Bernice, she was born December 24th, 1966. Oh, the poor lady. In Claremont, New Hampshire. She died May 30th, 1984. She was only 17 years old. She was killed. Location was Sullivan County in New Hampshire. New Hampshire. She is buried at the Mountain View Cemetery in Claremont, New Hampshire. Section Z, Lot 19A. And I think this was from Unsolved Mysteries itself. Newspaper article, I bet. Up next, we have Mary Elizabeth Critchley. She was born December 25th, 1943, in Bristol, Connecticut. Location of death was, or the date was July 25th, 1981. She was 37 years old. Location was Unity, New Hampshire. She was buried at St. Joseph Cemetery. Location is Plainville in Connecticut, USA. That's one thing that I like when it comes, if I had my way, ladies and gentlemen, I would make it where it'd be like mandatory that we keep these tombstones in decent shape. I have seen tombstones on, when I do these kind of videos, or even when I, walk by a cemetery in my area. There is a cemetery. Let's see here. I doubt I'll be able to find anything. Let's see here. Maps.google. Vermont.com. Okay. Let's see here. There is a cemetery. Where is this? Columbia Heights. It's in this area. It's not, I don't see it on the. Let's see here. Maybe I have to zoom in a little bit more. Hillsville Virtual Academies, Children's. Okay, here, let's just do this. Oh, wow, it's right there. Catland Cemetery. Let's see here. Does it actually give the information? I used to go up here a while ago. Probably not. They don't have. But yeah, some of these, like right here, like say there's this, little tombstone here. If I had my way, if I ran this country, basically, I would make it so that these tombstones are kept in a good shape, mainly because these, ultimately, at the end of the day, these tombstones are going to become what's left of the people. That tombstone will literally be like their final gift. And for it to become so weathered, I have seen tombstones that are so weathered that literally you can't even tell what's on it anymore. And it shouldn't be like that. They should be constantly kept up so people 100 years, 200 years, 300 years or whatever can go there and see who it is that used to, walk this earth, basically. It's just like having respect for the dead, I guess you could say. Oh, this is the cold case unit report. Up next, we have Ellen Fried. She was born August 9th, 1957. Date of death, July 22nd, 1984. She was only 26. Location was Newport in New Hampshire. Burial details are unknown. And here we have another cold case unit entry. Okay, Cathay Millican. Date of birth was May 25th, 1951 in Newport, New Hampshire. Date of death, October 24th, 1978, age 27. Location was New London in New Hampshire. Burial details unknown. Up next, we have Lynda Moore. And I think this is one of those cases I was kind of talking about before, where like everybody, all the victims, I think I'm actually older than all of these victims. I'm not saying all together, but I don't think any of these victims were actually older than I am, which is sad. Like these ladies were taken well before, they even had a chance to really live. Date of birth, April 20th, 1949, in Brattleboro, Windham County, Vermont. Location of death date was April 15th. She only died 5 days prior to her 37th birthday. Location, Saxtons River, Vermont, USA. She was buried at the Saxtons River Cemetery. That's a nice little marker. I always get confused, like, what the difference between a tombstone, what a headstone, what a marker is. So I always kind of use those words interchangeably, even though they're probably vastly different. But I don't know what they are, so I just kind of use them. Like, it's like when people call soda pop or something like that. Yeah. Oh, this must be on the other side. Oh, that is nice. You can definitely tell that this, that this has been properly maintained over. I'm guessing this has to be properly maintained over the years, or it's brand new. Either way, let's say it's been properly maintained. You could tell that the people care for her because of the fact, how nice it is and everything. This is one thing that always kind of got to me. Every one of these deaths were out in the open. This is the only death that I really didn't mention it at all. Like, especially at the beginning of this entire video, when I mentioned her, I didn't say where, I just said the location. I think this is the only death that happened inside a home, which makes me wonder to myself, it's like, why would the killer go into somebody's home, like this? Normally they're known for doing it out in the open, and it just seems something's off about this one. Finally, we have Eva Morse. Date of birth, May 6, 1958, Springwater, Vermont. Date of death, July 10th, 1985. She was only 27 years old. Location was West Unity, Sullivan, New Hampshire, USA. She was buried at the Pinecrest Cemetery. Okay, and so that was it for these victims of the Connecticut River Valley killer. Yeah, it's just like I said, it's kind of, I think hold on, let me check this one real quick. No, actually I was older than this one also. So, like I said, it's just weird, when everybody, that you profile was actually younger than you. And like I said, some of them, I don't even say some of them, all of them did not, even reach, like that midway point, which is sad. But yeah, so there's not much else I can really say. It's said that we can literally find killers nowadays pretty damn quickly, but this killer, they may be dead already, but the fact is that they were able to evade, that's ultimately what is an injustice. 7 people died due to this person, and that person may never be located. Up next, we have a segment. I'm still kind of debating if I'm going to continue doing this one segment. It's just something to kind of close us out on, I guess you could really say. Where I'm going to kind of look up the episode information to see, like, what else was there in the episode that this case was on. Yeah. So let's do this, do that, do that. There we go. So this episode, this was part of the, what was it again? Hold on, let's pull it up here. This was part of the October 9th, 1991 episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're looking for this on YouTube, this is actually part of Season 4, Episode 4 of Unsolved Mysteries. I'll put the link in the description below. I'll have it set up to go straight to this case. But, however, there are times that the producers of Unsolved Mysteries, when they upload it to YouTube, they kind of shuffle around the cases a little bit. They omit or they add cases that were actually not part of the televised airing of Unsolved Mysteries. So let's see, how is it different this time around? Let's see here. Okay, so first let's go to YouTube real quick. Let's go to YouTube. Okay, so what cases do we have? Let's see here. As part of YouTube. Unsolved Mysteries Season 4, Episode 4. Okay, I'm just going to do one thing real quickly. Since this is going to be a little bit of a full screen, I don't want to risk pissing off the producers and creators of this show. It's good. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of here. What do we got here? We have Judge J. Fairbanks. So we have Judge J. Fairbanks. We have the killer, oh God, Jesus fucking Christ. The name is Connecticut River Valley Killer. Jesus, the name was just eluding me right there. We have, let's see, Sue Scribner. Okay, so that just gives you kind of an idea of what it was that was part of the YouTube uploads of Unsolved Mysteries. Now, see what was actually part of the televised airing of Unsolved Mysteries. So let's go to April 9th, 1991. So they actually have a nice little guide. April 9th, 1991. Let's see here. When does this air? God. This went through 1991, so hopefully you see here. Oh my God, seriously? And I have a pop-up blocker also. Let's see here. The April 9th, January, April 24th, April 3rd? Hold on. Oof. Did I misread it? Hold on, let's. I thought it said April 9th, 1990. April 4th, April 9th, or sorry, October 9th. Oh, geez, I'm sorry, guys. October 9th. October 9th. Where did I get April? Hold on. February, March. Okay, so it must be part of season 4? Correct, season 4. Oh my God, I swear to God, I hate that fucking pop-up. That's like one of the most annoying pop-ups. Okay, October 2nd. Okay, October 9th, 1991. Okay, so here is what we have here. Okay, so it looks like it was kind of the same. They had the wanted case of the Connecticut River Valley Killer. They had the update of Lost. I'm guessing this was Lost Loves of the father, Jeannie Wagner. The wanted case of Judge John Fairbanks, which real piece of shit of a guy. We have the Lost. I'm guessing Lost Loves of Paul and Paul and Paula Scribner. And then the Mystery of Tyler. Now, I think this one was omitted. Is this one omitted? Let's take a look here. I think this case could have been omitted. I may be wrong, though. God. Holy fucking shit. Let me just see. No, it isn't omitted because I remember the amnesia. Let's see here. Yeah, it doesn't say that it was omitted. Let's actually see how many of these cases were omitted. Okay, so we know the Connecticut River Valley is not omitted. Neither is Judge Fairbanks, and Scribner was mentioned here in, this one was omitted. I'm not sure if it's actually part of season 4, episode 4, but let's check the Jeannie Wagner. And people wonder why people use, and these businesses wonder why people use pop-up blockers all the time. Holy shit. Okay, extra notes. It doesn't say that it was omitted. So maybe if it works out correctly, the season 4, episode 4 of season 4, episode 4 of the YouTube uploads may have all of these cases. Now, if you look at it here, this is actually part of, let's see here, which season this is. So this is part season 4. And depending on how you look at it, it could be either seen as season 4, episode 96 overall, or season 4, episode, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically, it depends on how you look at it. It could be season 4, episode 4 televised, or season 4, episode 96 overall, yeah. But yeah, so that's actually it. Let's see here. I'm kind of curious. Let's see here. Unsolved Mysteries Wikipedia. I'm curious, like, what was, because I personally think that the first like 2 or 3 seasons at the most of Unsolved Mysteries was like peak Unsolved Mysteries. That was like when they were running on all cylinders. And then after that, I think it was around season 4, maybe season 5 at the latest. I think it wasn't like a massive drop off, but it was a slow decline until we hit that point where they were moved from Wednesdays, if I remember correctly, to Fridays on NBC. And that's when it just, all the problems really started coming out. Let's see, does it have the ratings? That's what I'm wanting to see. Okay. Episodes, reenactment, soundtrack, podcast, spin-off. I was hoping that would have the ratings. Oh, here we go. Okay, so season 1. And as you can see here, there is a little bit of a decline. Season 1, which went from 88 to 89. Now, these was at this season 1 was after the specials. Prior to season 1, they had like, I think it was like 5 or 6 monthly specials or whatever it was, or quarterly specials. It was hosted by different hosts until it was finally determined that Robert Stack was going to host the show. Season 1, it went from 88 to 89. It ranked number 17th overall, I'm guessing. Classic TV hits. Okay, we're ranked number 17, and it had 15.7 million views. Not bad. Not bad at all. Season 2, it ranked number 11th. It had 16.6. Here, let's zoom in a little bit, shall we? Wait, hold on. There we go. It had 16.6. So this was like the highest. Yeah, it's the highest that it's ever going to get. Like I said, the first, 2, 3, maybe even, you can even say 4 seasons. Those were like the peak. Those were like the best. See here. Season 3 went from 90 to 91, ranked 16th. It had 14.6 million views. A little bit of a decline, but it did actually manage to rebound a little bit in season 4, which was 1991 to 1992. It actually went from 16th to 13th place. and it actually had 15.2. So it actually ticked up a little bit, which, well, to me that would have been promising. But oh my God, you can definitely start to see the decline. The decline is here, and sadly, it didn't get any better. Season 5, 1992 to 1993. 21st place. And after this, it doesn't get any better. 13.2 million views. And I think if I remember correctly, I'd have to go back to look at the intros. I think season 5, I think season 1, 2, and 3 basically had that iconic opening and everything. Season 4, I think they started changing it just a little bit. And then starting with season 5, I think they got too polished. I think what it was that really, and you may disagree with me, that's okay. I think that one of the mainstays, one of the things that people loved about Unsolved Mysteries was how gritty it looked. Especially those first couple of seasons. It had that gritty look. It had that low budget look. And then they got too polished. And I think that's ultimately what it was that kind of ruined it. They went too far from the establishment of what they did. They went too far from gritty. It looks like it could happen in any small town, and they got so polished, it just became like another high-priced documentary. That's what it kind of looked like after a while. So back to here. Season 5, 1992 to 1993. 21st place. And like I said, it doesn't get any better than that. 13.2 million views. Season 6, 1993 to 1994. 36th place or rank. They only managed to get 12 million viewers. I think it was right here with season 7. I think this is when NBC started seeing this and they're thinking, okay, we have problems here. And that's when, if I was the owner of this show, I would have looked at this and I'm like, okay, we literally went from a high of 16.6 million views down to 9. Why? Why did we have such a decline? It wasn't just 9 million views and our rank stayed up. No, our rank actually plummeted. It's like the bottom fell out. They went to 75th place. They went to 75th place. Sadly, they have a little bit of a tick up, but it isn't that much. Season 8. 1995 to 1996. 59th place with a 9.4 million viewers. Oh, that's not looking good. Now, if I remember correctly, I think it's either season 8, 9, but I think it's season 9, 10. These 2 seasons is when they went to Wednesdays on, no, I think it was Fridays on CBS. I can't recall, it was either Wednesday or Friday, but it was when they were moved to CBS. And that was like literally, that should have been seen as like the death note. It's like, you guys are being moved. They should have seen the writing on the wall, but nope, they continued on. The sad thing is, CBS only gave them 6 episodes per season. They should have saw that as a warning sign. It's like, oh my God, our show is dead. Season 9, 1996 to 1997. It had a little bit of an uptick, which I don't understand because they went from 59th place with 9.4 to 53rd place, 8.6. I'm wondering if this is because they're on CBS. Maybe the numbers are a little bit different. But look at this tumble. Look at this tumble. A 33-point rank divot. Season 10, 1997 to 1998, 86 in rank with a 9.9 million reviews. They actually scored a higher rank with 8.6 million views compared to 9.9 million views and 86. And then I think this is when they went to Lifetime. Season 11, 1998 to 1999, 75th with a 9.7. It's kind of jarring from their absolute best, which was season 2 with 16.6. They went from 16.6 million to 9.7 and 11th rank to 75 by the end of their original run. I actually have this entire box set. Podcast, documentary, spin-offs. Let's see here. Let's go back up here. Let's see here. No, Lifetime was actually 2001 to 2002. So they don't even have that on the rankings. The TV rankings actually stops at 898 and 99. So it was the CBS era that they stopped. I'm guessing maybe it's because Lifetime is cable, perhaps. It's just kind of sad to see how Lifetime was 2000. Yeah. Look at this. That tells you how much CBS did not even have faith in Unsolved Mysteries. 2 seasons, 6 episodes each. I think the highest amount of episodes that that they ever gave Unsolved Mysteries was 175. This had to have been like reruns. $175 episodes. These had to have been reruns. And then by the end on Netflix, one season is 12, 9, and 9. It seems like they were actually treated a little bit better with Lifetime. I mean, overall, NBC gave them, 20 and 30 episodes, but it went down to 6 with CBS. It upticked to 55 with Lifetime. For season 12, season 13, it looked like it was 48. Spike has his abnormal 175. I'm pretty sure it's just reruns. And then like Netflix, it's literally as bad as CBS. However, Netflix, it's more like one case over an hour, which I fucking hate that idea. Unsolved Mysteries has always been like an anthology show where it's like case after case after case after case. And then these are all the specials. I really wish that they had these specials online. I could always, let's see here. Let's do Unsolved Mysteries Unabomber. Sometimes they may have Death, Miracle, Fall. It could be this one. Yeah, they don't have it on here. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes people will upload, unpublished Unsolved Mysteries cases. Let's see, do they still have the Tallman house? Like the one that you can easily find, at least when I last looked, was the Tallman house. Yep. They still have it here. So some cases are more easy to find that are unpublished on YouTube than some other ones, you know. Let's see here. What's another one that we see here? No category. Kyra Cook. Oh, Kyra Cook. Let's see here. Kyra Cook is actually a local case where I live that happened. Here's my video. I released this 8 years ago. Geez. Back when I had my old computer and on my old setup and everything. Oh, God. Yeah, it doesn't look like we got Kyra Cook here at all, which is sad. Like I said, it just kind of matters like where you look and everything in the case. Let's see here. Unexplained death, Aileen Conway, Glenn Bessie Hyde. See, like right here, Glenn, like all these cases here. Let's see here. Aileen Conway, Glenn Bessie Hyde, Dottie Kaler. These are labeled as a special, but on YouTube, they're actually part of season 1, episode 1. So what they do is that they will basically move certain cases around, which is stupid, but they do, you know. But this was also when Robert Stack first started hosting the specials before they decided, you know what, let's have him do it. And like Kurt McFall, like this is special number 5. And see, Kurt McFall, I know for sure. I think that's season 1, episode like 2 or 3 or whatever. Michael Martin, Jerry Strickland, yeah, Missy Monday. Missy Monday, I think that was a season 1, episode 2 or episode 3 case, you know. It's just kind of sad that, you know, like, because, like, okay, so we have, up here we have, where was it? Okay, so we have special 4. A missing person, like, say, Dottie Kaler. And then number 1, the season 1, episode 1. And it's Gulf Breeze. Gulf Breeze UFO, Louis Carlucci, you know, and stuff. It's not, you know, it's not. They tried to make it sound like, oh, what you're watching on YouTube, it's actually exactly what was on television. The cases may be what you saw on television, but the televised lineup, it isn't the same. It is not the same. But I just wish that they had some, because I honestly don't recall some of these cases. Roger Wheeler? Okay, let's try Roger Wheeler. Is this one on? Nope. It's sad because, like, why hide some of these cases? Some of these cases, you know, like, I don't even recall, and it'd be like, wow, that's, like, new, because it's been so long since I even seen them, you know. Pat Mielbach? Nope. Okay, but that's basically what I kind of, like I said, that I wasn't sure exactly how this, you know, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep doing this. This is just something I kind of want to do to kind of just wind down. Especially if I cover a case that's sad, like due to murders and everything, I figured, you know, let's have a segment where at least we don't end up, you know, the video doesn't end with, you know, it being so sad. Okay, everybody, that is it. That marks the end of another installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. In this installment, I basically, or well, I can say we basically watched the case of the Connecticut River Valley serial killer, at which there has been no closure. People are still waiting for answers. And I honestly hate to say it, but I think the longer this case goes, we may never get an answer, you know, and that's why I kind of like to do these videos, basically also because it gives, like insight from somebody who's not in the profession that may ask questions that have not been asked before. But also it just helps keep everything fresh. And that's one reason I hope that one of these days people will start feeling comfortable enough, to, do their own commentary like this. Basically, it's kind of sad because, like I said, I remember what it used to be like in the early 2010s, And once the whole Armageddon happened, all gone. But I once in a while I'll get comments from people like, "Oh, I love this show. I like this case." It's like, hey, number one, I'm glad you like the show and I'm glad you like the case. But I would like to see what you have to say about it. Like, what do you think? But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go and get this ready to upload, and I'm going to back on out. I hope you have a great start to the year 2026. That's right. As I'm recording this, it is January 1st, so I hope that your 2026 turns out to be a good year, and I will see you next time. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Wishing you all a great day. Stay safe, everybody. Peace out.